back to the Aquarium Main Aquarium Basement, and welcome to the 750-gallon Amazonian Islands live premiere. Before I get into the premiere, I just want to thank everybody who was able to make it here live and watch this with me. I'm in the chat, chatting with you live right now, but I just want to thank you for taking the time to be here. I really do appreciate that. All right, so we go back, three and a half months. We started the double DIY builds, the 600-gallon Asian Jungle Aquarium, and the 750-gallon Amazonian Islands Aquarium. Well, tonight, it's all about the Amazonian Islands Aquarium. We're gonna start off with where we left off, which was with the test fill, and we're gonna bring it all the way up to building out the aquarium, moving in the new fish, and seeing them into their new home. We're gonna see them in their first 5 minutes. We're gonna see them 24 hours later. We're gonna see their first feeding. We're gonna see them in their new 750-gallon Amazonian Islands build. Let's go. All right, it is finally aquascaping time, but as always, there's always something you gotta do before you start aquascaping. So what that something is we gotta get all that water out of these tanks from the test fill. And we can't just pump it out immediately. We need to do another test. We need to do did I line up the drains properly so that if the power goes off, the water drains down in the sump and doesn't overflow. Well, we did that test, and for the 600-gallon, it's very close. Let me show you. So it didn't overflow, but it is right to the hairy edge. That is too close for comfort, so I'll be making a slight adjustment on the drains for the 600-gallon. 750, things are looking better. It's not as close, but it's definitely, I don't know, it's slightly higher than I like to have it. So gonna make a little bit of adjustment on the drains for the 700 as well. And then I will continue pumping out all this water. So what you see right here is actually water that I went to top off the 3,000 gallon. And I'm gonna use all of this water in what's left of 750 and what's left of the 600. And I'm gonna top off all my tanks, do some water changes, and then use the rest of the water to clean off some of the scaping materials outside. So let me get doing that, and also let's stage all the scaping materials in here and we'll see what we're working with. All right, so this is pretty much phase one of the Amazonian Islands scape here. Basically, this is the hardscape. This is lots of large rocks. These are huge rocks, and lots of wood, and piled up. Essentially, the thought process behind this aquarium was I saw I've seen a few videos on the Pantanal in the Amazon, which is a river or stream that's fed by underground springs. So the water is crystal clear, and there's bright white sand, which I'll have here. And then as you move along throughout the river, there's areas where debris and rock and everything's clustered up, and it's sort of similar to this kind of deal here. And then it's got vegetation growing on it. So if you can imagine what you have right now looking a little artificial, but imagine the sand everywhere, river stone filling in gaps around, medium-sized stones filling in some gaps, and then on all of this wood, imagine having plants tied to all of it. So there's not going to be, at least day one, there's not going to be any rooted plants. There's going to be plants like Anubias and Java fern and things like that grow well tied to the wood with the rhizome hanging down. So we're going to turn those structures right now into actual islands of vegetation, rock, and wood. And the other thing I wanted to do is take advantage of the 5 feet front to back. It's hard to appreciate that this here is 6 inches off the glass. That rock is probably 8 or 9 inches off the glass, and then you have very good amounts of space, on the sides and in the back and everything. Because, even though there's going to be a lot of smaller tetra, or medium-sized tetra, I should say, there's going to be a lot of big fish in here. Maybe a better way to show it is, let's take a look from the top. Okay, if we come up over top, you can you get a little better vision of the scale, the distance between the various pieces of substrate, and the fact that there's quite a bit of room back behind there. Definitely no shortage of open swimming space for when the cichlids get big. And another thing is the height. So we're probably 30-ish inches or so at the top of that branch. So if you can imagine tall plants like full-grown Java fern coming up off the top of these islands, tied to all this root, all the roots hanging down, you know, kind of like vines. And then down here on the lower area, you know, a tighter type thing like a nubius, where it's going to grow much closer to the rock and the wood, filling in all that gap. So you'll have this undergrowth with rhizomes and roots hanging down, and then up top you'll have, you know, like I said, a very large Java fern growing very tall with lots of roots hanging down. And yeah, it should fill in nicely. But this is just stage one. Stage two is we got to add the substrate, so it's time to add the sand. So for this tank, I have a whole bunch of sand that was used in other builds that I've been holding on to. This is the HGH pool filter sand, and then I have a whole bunch of bags of HGH pool filter sand. So time to get all that in the tank, and then afterwards, this is what I was talking about with the smaller river rock. You know, we have a lot of this, and I also have a lot more of these like medium-sized rocks. Actually, I have tons of it outside. So what I want to do right now is get the sand in there and then see what it looks like, and then start filling in the rocks to make each one of these areas look more natural. All right, back to work. Okay, don't worry. I thought the same thing you thought. That didn't look that great of a scape. So that's the results of it's midnight, been moving all this material in there, working with it, getting frustrated, giving up for the night. But obviously, I let my batteries recharge. I came back to it. Let me show you what I did for the second attempt, and then we'll talk about what we're going to do for the third attempt, because we know with all of my scapes, it takes at least 3 attempts to get anything decent. So let's take a look. All right, as you can see, the left side has gotten bigger and more substantial, and you have to keep in mind it's going to be covered with plants, so it's going to look a lot different, a lot of fill-in rock. I keep bringing in more material. There's more up here. There's more in here. The right side is completely destroyed. That's got to be redone. I got a bunch of material I'm moving in here, and then I got a new idea for the front that I think is going to work out a lot better. But as you can see, also I added the sand because it just sort of helped me with visualizing having the sand in there. So went ahead and put that in as well. So as you can tell, that first scape is more or less obliterated. And the second attempt was putting in the sand, and I actually had another thing back there that's half obliterated, which means we're making progress instead of obliterating the whole thing, just half of it, you know. And now we're going to start the third attempt. All right, so I'm going to bring some more material, get back in there, and then we'll show you what we end up with on the third attempt. Okay, hopefully third time's the charm. I'm definitely liking this. I see a few little things I want to touch up in there, but overall it's accentuating the 5-foot depth of the tank. We have our smaller Amazonian islands up front and our larger ones in the back, and plenty of caves and areas to go through there. So you can see all those large rocks over there. They're actually supported by smaller rocks and wood underneath, so creating an area for smaller fish to go underneath. And then there's caves, as well as lots and lots of wood that is embedded in those structures. And that's the next phase of this, which is to tie on plants. So water column feeding plants, think of plants with rhizome, like you know, Java fern and nubius, all over those guys. So taller plants in the back, growing up off the top of those islands. So we'll get true islands. So we'll have areas with all that lush plant growth and all that structure. And then between we'll have nice sand areas, just open sand areas. So hopefully it'll accentuate the look of the islands when that's done. And to a lesser extent up front, there'll be some smaller plants like a nubius tied in here, but we want this to be, you know, sort of a 50% version of what's going on in the back in terms of foliage and everything. Keep it open, lots of swimming room. But I think with a tank this big, we're not going to have swimming room problems. So let me go ahead and jump in and get the plants on here and start filling the water up, and then I think it'll really come together is what we're going for here. I don't know. Did that make a difference? I guess I can tell a little bit of a difference adding in the plants. Well, all right. That was a marathon chore. That crouched down in there and tying all those plants on. Whew. But yeah, I'm feeling it. I think we're going to hit the look I was looking for when they all grow in. But wow, that was some work. But man, I'm liking it. I'm definitely liking it so far. All right, let me get some water in there. I think the plants might be a little parched. Okay, while the 750 is filling up, time to take some media out of the 220 and get it cleaned up and moved over to the sump for the 750. As you can see, these guys are eagerly awaiting their new home. You can tell I've pretty much crushed their aquascape by taking most of it and putting the 750 where it completely just disappeared because of the scale being so different. But whew, all right. let's get this media back there cleaned off and put into the sump, and I'll catch you up to speed with what's going on in the 750. Okay, so that may look nasty, but that's just mulm and sediment and everything left over from the organic process in there. But the nice thing is it's full of biological bacteria, and since I have well water, I'm just going to clean it off in here before we move it over into the sump on the 750 gallon, which you can see is now all full of water. So what's been happening here the last few days is, of course, filling the tank with water and a little temporary setup with the lights. That's stuff we're going to cover in a minute. But we have it all running, and we've been adding bacteria the first couple days. And so what I see, I got the test kits down here. Mainly we're focusing on ammonia. So we put in a whole bunch of sand that was reused. They basically took it out wet, put it into a bucket, or actually a large container outside, and let it sit. So it had a lot of organic material in it. It had a lot of aerobic, airborne bacteria, I should say, that has now all died off that it's underwater. So for the first few days, the tank was producing about 0.5 ppm ammonia, and you know, it's it should be 0 when there's fish in there, and that's not to be expected yet, but it's not that much, so I knew it would go up. So I kept adding bacteria each day, and now you can see this is today's test kit, and that's 1.0. So that's a healthy amount of ammonia. Obviously, that's great for the plants. They're digging it. That's just a feast for them. But if you had a fish-in cycle, this would be the kind of thing where you couldn't do it this way. So because my tank is so big, I can never do a fish-in cycle. I do a partial. So what I do is I take media or some sort of organic die-off, something to produce ammonia, and I introduce that to the tank, and I either dose with, well, actually I do both. I dose with bacteria for the Fritzheim 7 in this case, and I also move over media from existing aquariums. And even if I don't want to move, if I'm not breaking down an aquarium into a whole nother aquarium, I'll put some other media in there and start staging and getting it ready for the next tank. So that's what's happening here. So the first few days was just the bacteria and the die-off. Now I'm moving over the media, as you saw. I'm getting ready to wash it out. So this is where we really ramp it up, and we'll see for the next day or so that you'll probably get another day of that 1.0 reading, and then that's going to start going down, and then of course once we get it down to 0, we'll go ahead and add the fish in, which I expect to be about 3 days from now. That's generally how it's rolled. And the reason I don't do like a fish in, because technically there's no reason you couldn't take a whole bunch of cycled media, introduce it to a tank, and introduce the fish that are appropriate for the amount of media you brought over. But to do that, you have to do daily water changes, because you're going to have ammonia spikes, and you have to combat that with large daily water changes, like 50% or something. And on a 750 gallon aquarium, you're not doing 50% water changes. I mean, that's too much. It doesn't make any sense. When really all you got to do is just wait, 5 days, and you'll have the fish in there. So you can see where we're at right now. I need to go clean off some media, and then we're going to fix this light situation. We're going to fix it right now tonight. Okay, back at it. Okay, so here's the situation with the lights. One, started with the filter or the drains. It's not really that loud when the covers are on. Even like Predator Bay, it sounds like that if you take the covers off, but when you put the tops on, you don't really hear that at all. So what we're going to do here is obviously we're going to clean off. This is just a board. I was using a stage rocks on, extra piece of wood, temporary lights up here so I can see what I was doing. But what I have done, you can see here, is I've added these little hooks in there on each side. So there's 2 there, 2 there, 2 there, and there'll be 2 there. And what it is I cut the tops in half. Rather than have one big long 5-foot top, I go ahead and run part of it on the back, part of it on the front, because I want to be able to lift up the front, have a smaller piece, for feeding and things like that. Because the lights on this tank are actually going to be running this way, long ways on the tank, one in each section. They were just put across like they are now, whoops, for purposes of lighting it for me to do the aquascaping. So I'm going to screw in a couple hooks. I have the tops, going to make some cuts, make them fit nice, cut them in half, get them installed, and we're going to get the lights running the right way, and we'll see what it looks like with the full complement of 3 lights on there. All right, let's go. All right, that looks much better, much cleaner, much nicer. Let's take a look inside. Oh man, you know what's going to be really hard is these next 3 days while I work on getting the water chemistry just right, or however many days it takes. I won't rush it, but from experience, I believe I'm halfway through the cycle, or at least 45% of the way through. But yeah, it's starting to look like a fish tank now. I can see those fish swimming around in here. I cannot wait to get these guys in their new home. All right, time to be patient, get the water quality right, and soon enough, we're gonna see some Severum, some Acara, some Angels, some true Paracichlids, schools of Tetra. This is gonna be nice. All right, if anyone's like me, you are ready to see the fish moved into this aquarium, and we are almost there. We are all so close, oh so close. Well, let's take a quick look at the scape here, and it is definitely coming in nicely. You get a little bit of the fungus growing on the terrestrial wood, the new pieces, so that's good. That tells you you're moving along in the cycling process, and a little bit of diatom algae on the rocks. That's what you want to see. But you know, I don't trust just the visual indicators on the plants and the rock and the wood. I have also been testing every single day. So here we're starting off just testing for the presence of ammonia. Even though that looks like it might be saying there's trace ammonia, that's actually no ammonia. Over time, when these sit here long enough, they start to darken up. So at any rate, you can see here, boom, ammonia spike. We're really seeing ammonia in the aquarium. These are the first few days, 4 days, and then we start testing, do we have nitrite and nitrate? We got a little bit, we still got ammonia. Now we're starting to see significant nitrite, a little bit of nitrate. We're seeing still ammonia, seeing the nitrate start to go down. We're seeing the ammonia go down, and we're starting to see some nitrate and very little nitrite, and almost none. And then here, again, this was showing, you know, no ammonia, except for as it sits here for a couple days, it darkens up. So we are definitely there. We're ready. There's been a lot of filter material moved over from their current aquarium. Probably half of their original filter material is in here. So now it is time. So it's cycled, and I need to get the fish in here so that you know, we can keep it going, because you got to feed the bacteria. Just, you know, as much as the fish need the bacteria to process their waste, well, the bacteria need the fish to produce waste for them to feed on. So yeah, this is going to be the last look at this aquarium as a basically just a planted aquarium. You can definitely tell the plants are loving it though. They're sprouting off flowers and they're going crazy, because, you know, ammonia for plants is quite the food source. So yeah, I think they're enjoying it. But you know what I'm thinking is, since this is going to be the last time this is not going to have fish in it, hint hint for the spoiler for the other part of the video. But yeah, let's take the camera underwater, just do a quick run through and see what this guy looks like underwater. Okay, it's time to introduce some Amazonian cichlids to their new Amazonian Islands 750 gallon aquarium home. Okay, we got some fish that are moving on up. They're going from good to better. It is time to take everybody out of the 220 and move them over to their new 750 gallon Amazonian Island home. I think everybody looks ready to go, so let's get their containers filled up and yeah, let's get them into their new home. Okay, I've just added the fish into the tank. They've literally been in here 5 minutes, and my first impressions are, I thought I had a lot of fish, but it doesn't look like it when you put them in here. The other thing is how cool is it that all the schooling fish, they're all grouped up and they're schooling together because of the size of the tank. When they were in the other tank, they were just all spread out going everywhere, but now you have Buenos Aires tetras schooling together, Colombian, red blue Colombian tetras, Serpes in the back there, all staying tight together. Really, really cool stuff. I love to see them. I love to see their natural instincts kick in when they get into a larger area. I love the schooling. Definitely very cool. I'm sure once they get really comfortable with the tank, they'll go back to being spread out. But it's definitely cool seeing them school right now. What's mostly important is that they're 5 minutes into a new tank and they all look good. Everybody seems like they're digging it. So that's always the most stressful thing is, they've been in the other tank for 3 years, and untouched pretty much. They barely even any water changes, just the, being my nature ecosystem. So, disturbing, tearing down their whole aquarium and moving everybody over. It's stressful for them. It's stressful for me, because I know that it stresses them out. But definitely pretty cool getting everybody in here. All right, wow. Well, so this is the first 5 minutes in. I wanted to just capture it on video. See, you never know how they're never gonna act this way again, I'm sure, in here. But yeah, everyone's. You can see the bigger fish. They're kind of clustered up in the back there by the islands, and the smaller guys. I'm actually really surprised. The smaller guys have just adapted practically instantaneously. I can see with the cichlids, especially with the angels, they're already sort of jockeying for new position to figure out, who gets what. But there's so much territory, I don't think they've figured out what they want to do yet. And yeah, the Aquarium, he's actually been swimming around actually pretty normal. Severum, they're a little more tentative, trying to figure out what's going on. But yeah, definitely not shying away, coming up. Probably asking me like, hey, I realize you moved us to a new tank, but I think it's feeding time. We didn't get fed tonight. What's up with that? That's what I think he's thinking. Yeah, he doesn't seem too stressed at all. He's right at the front. He's just like, yeah, this tank's cool, but yeah, dinner time. And let's see. Yep, the Geophagus, they're sort of chilling out there. You got 2 more Severum in the back, the angels. The parrot cichlids, now they're the most, or they're the ones that take the longest to sort of get acclimated. They were the same way when they were young and brought into the other tank. I'm sure they're in either that big cave there or this big cave over here, but I don't think it'll take long before they get their bearings and they're out and about. Because with so much with, 5 feet front to back, I think that really gives the fish some serious comfort level. Plus with the serious amount of aquascape in here, they know they can retreat behind something into a cave really easily if they want to. So yeah, you can definitely tell when you move fish into a really large aquarium, it has a very calming effect on them. It was with the 3,000 gallons the same way because I'd grown out those cichlids and then moved them in there, and when they were in the grow out, they would fight all the normal cichlid stuff, jockeying for territory, for dominance in the tank. Once I put them in 3,000 gallon, it was kind of like, yeah, we got plenty of room. This is cool. We'll just spread out and we'll just do a little bit of hierarchy stuff every once in a while. So yeah, so far seems like it's the same thing with these guys. Even though these aren't aggressive cichlids, they're cichlids, so they have a little bit of that, but they seem pretty calm and pretty happy for fish that have just gotten dumped into a container and then into their new tank. I guess they've been in here since I've been filming now for a few minutes. Probably 10 minutes they've been in here. All right, well, what I'm going to do is let these guys settle in for the night and then come back tomorrow, and we will get the final video of these guys swimming around for the Amazonian Islands live premiere. Okay, we saw a successful move of all the fish from the 220 over to the 750. We saw their first 5 to 10 minutes in the aquarium. Let's check them out after 24 hours and give them their very first feeding in Amazonian Islands. All right, here we are, 24 hours in, and everybody is looking really good. Electric blue Acara, redhead Tapajos Geophagus, 3 different types of Severn, orange shoulder, rock keel, and super red, or we have the parrot cichlid in the back. The angels, they're still in their pairs, and they've found their new locations in the aquarium that they like, and of course all the schooling fish are still schooling. And I can tell you what, earlier the Cory cats, they were going crazy. They almost look like they were in breeding behavior. They were all over the place. Looks like they've sort of settled in now, which is cool, but they're everywhere. There's actually a very large school of these rusty Cory cats in there, probably 10 to 12 of them. So they're definitely loving it. And even the recluse bushy nose pleco is even out, checking out some new rocks to eat some algae off of. But yeah, 24 hours in and doing great. Everyone is mostly colored back up. I would say that the orange shoulder Severn is still a little faded out from his normal, but everybody else really colored up. But the key thing is they are doing well, acting normal, no clamp fins, no hard breathing, none of that stuff, just a nice adaptation. It takes about 10 days, but in that process of moving over their filter material, providing an ammonia source, letting the system break, let it break down the ammonia, start the nitrogen cycle, and then move the fish right over, because there's so much existing filter material, seeded filter material, that it's ready to go. Once you get to that point, you got to start producing ammonia again to keep that bacteria alive. So it's time for the fish to come in. So it's definitely, if you can do that, it's a very nice way to bring over fish from one aquarium to another, taking advantage of all that went into the first aquarium. So the cool thing about this is I decided to put a lot of aquascape up close because I wanted to bring the fish forward. I wanted them, this tank is only 6 feet wide, but it's 5 feet deep. So to sort of accentuate that, the aquascape starts all the way in the front low and ramps up tall to the back on both sides, with then a large area in the middle. And it's pretty much having the desired effect, is the fish are attracted to that big open spot in the middle, because in every direction they have places to go if they feel stressed, or if they feel threatened in any way, I should say. They can just dart into any number of caves or behind rocks or wood, and you can tell from their demeanor that's how they're acting. They're acting very comfortable. They're not afraid of the camera. They're not afraid to be right up on the glass, because they know there's plenty of places to retreat to if they need to. It's been very cool, because the last thing you want is all the fish hiding in the back all the time. You want to bring them up. You want to be able to see them. That's exactly what this scape is doing. So very, very happy with that. Plus, I just feel that so when the fish were moved in, right away you could tell they knew they were in a big, comfortable space. They just acted, for fish who just got ripped out of their home and put in a large bucket and brought over, they just seemed very, very calm very quickly once they got into the new aquarium. So that's always a really good feeling. That lets you know, as a fish keeper, you're doing something right when the fish respond in a very positive way to the environment that you've put together for them. Okay, so 24 hours in, very, very successful. Everyone looking great. Everyone calmly swimming around, enjoying their new home. I think it's time for their first feeding. All right, there we go. Let's see. Yeah, I wasn't sure how they would take to it, but they look like they are hungry, and they're going straight after it. So we have a big mix of foods here. We have flake food for the tetra, and we have some tetra color tropical granules for the larger tetra, and then we have some small cichlid pellets for our bigger cichlids. And then of course the geophagus and the cories, they're going to go along and clean up everything anyways. It reaches to the bottom. So no worries there. We have quite an army of sand sifters and bottom feeders in here. So definitely no worries about any of this reaching the bottom. Plus, quite honestly, a lot of the other fish, the Sevrum, the parrots, they'll go pick off the bottom as well. They're not picky in that sense. So yeah, I would say not the most voracious feeding these guys have ever had, So there, I would say you can still tell a little bit of getting used to the tank, but you know, they are all readily feeding, so that is good. And you know, again, 24 hours in, these fish, since they were purchased as young fish, had never moved. They've lived in the 220-gallon Amazon aquarium up until this point. So, you know, they were in an untouched environment for over 2 years. So it's not surprising there's, you know, a little bit of trepidation having their entire home, you know, torn apart and then moved somewhere else. But like I said, they are eating. But you'll see a difference in future videos on this aquarium when they're truly settled in and just completely comfortable in their home like they were in the 220. You'll see how voraciously these guys come up and feed. But yeah, but like I said, they are all eating. A lot of them, you know, several of them, they waited for the food to go down to the bottom and they're picking off there. They picked some of the bigger pellets in there, but yeah, they're doing good. Oof. So this was a long time coming, but after 3.5 months, one half of the double DIY builds is live, and I don't know if it comes across on camera like it does here, but I'm loving this aquarium. There's going to be a lot of time spent sitting in between these two aquariums enjoying this. So I definitely don't mind doing laundry anymore because I have something beautiful to look at while I'm waiting for clothes to come out of the dryer and whatnot. So all in all, very happy with the aquarium annex in the aquarium basement, and half of it is done. And wow, yeah, couldn't be happier with this. I think I'm repeating myself. Thanks for coming to the 750-gallon Amazonian Islands premiere, and stay tuned because we have the 600-gallon Asian stream aquarium coming, Asian jungle stream aquarium coming really soon. It is very close. So yeah, look forward to that. Hopefully next Saturday. We'll see if I can pull it off. All right, see you guys soon.